All right, so the other player that obviously made big news, big headlines was Tom Brady. The whole fiasco, retiring, not retiring, retiring, not
He's
retiring.
officially retiring now.
I mean, first off, the crazy thing that's going on right now with a lot of the Patriot fans and stuff that we're seeing is like he basically just didn't mention the Patriot fans at all. So like the only equivalence of that would be someone like Paul, for example.
If
Paul,
he retired
if
and
he
didn't think
didn't
Innova.
say anything about Innova.
But that doesn't seem that
It's
crazy.
a little
to
bit
me.
different.
That
It would be-
doesn't
it's
seem
different.
that crazy.
It would be if Paul retired
It's different
like
though.
2 years ago.
But it's different with like sponsors because
No,
you're
yeah,
really
'cause
only
it-
be thinking the sponsor
That you're currently with
Yeah.
versus a team.
versus a fan
But-
base that has like supported
Absolutely.
you for
from like
an
a certain
insane
region.
amount.
Why I said it would be like Paul 2 years ago is because Brady wasn't with Tampa that long.
Yeah. So
Like
it-
he won 6 of his 7 with New England.
yeah.
Right.
So it'd be tough for that. But who do you think will go down as like?
The greatest of all time in disc golf,
Well,
like Tom Brady in football.
do you consider him the greatest of all time?
Yes, I do.
Yeah.
Will there
I
ever-
think a lot of people will consider that.
Will there ever be someone that like will always be a quarterback? Like when you talk about greatest football player of all time,
It's going to be hard for it not to be.
because the quarterback is
Mm-hmm.
just so dominant, especially with
quarterback's
where
also
the NFL is going
Exactly,
now.
but
They
it's
touch
also
ball
the
every-
quarterback so tied to the success of their team.
Mhm.
Like the Bengals, everyone's talking about Joe Burrow. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean Jamar Chase is disgusting. They
Yeah.
have a disgusting defense. Because yeah, you're right. Like on the other side of the ball, a lot of times you hear about their defense is very good. You don't
Yeah.
hear like this one player is disgusting.
Every once in a while, you'll know about a player like
no, there's
who's the guy on the Rams?
well, Jalen Ramsey is disgusting.
No,
corner.
the defensive
Von
lineman.
Miller,
Well, he's good too.
Donald,
Donald, yeah,
Donald,
yeah,
Aaron Donald.
yeah.
Yeah, but
So every once in a while you'll hear about him, but they won't ever go down because the ball's in the quarterback's hands
Yeah.
every play. But I don't think we have our Tom Brady yet because we're not there yet. We're still
do
in
you
the
think,
like.
do you
Yeah.
think too like the Tom Brady is really going to show up because like obviously
But they
right
could already be here.
but like winning in the NFL right now is really
We're
tough.
such a young sport. Is my biggest thing.
That's
So
a,
whenever we talk
Yeah,
about
it's a
greatest
young
of all
sport.
time, like I always look at
How
basketball,
old's
right?
the NFL?
NFL's very old.
A lot older.
60, 80 years,
Really?
maybe more.
Disc golf. I mean,
Were
the
they
national
playing in the
national
20s?
tour didn't even start till like Ken Climo played in pre-national tour era,
Yeah.
and he played in the early 2000s. So like the
Yeah.
national tour has it even been around 20 years yet? I don't think so. I think it started in like 2003, maybe even later.
I think though it will be like if someone can go out and win 5, 6, 7 majors, something like that across their career, like 15, 20 years from now, that's going to be looked at as it's going to be the same thing as the Jordan LeBron
Well,
kind
it's
of
like
comparisons
I think
of
that
where,
Ken Climo's kind of like Bill Russell, where
yeah.
Bill Russell's got 11 rings, but you never really hear him talked about a ton.
No.
You know what I mean? Because he won 11 rings way back. Same thing as Ken Climo. He won 12 world titles way back. And then it's tough to know where Paul falls into that line, kind of like because he's the next. So after Bill Russell, you don't know kind of quite where to put Paul on the timeline of like how much people will remember him when we're all old talking about him.
Is Paul like a Peyton Manning? Where
Flip
he's
sports.
not like
Older.
He's not like a
Older.
Tom Brady.
No, because
Right?
like if you look at Bill Russell in his time, right, or you look at Michael Jordan in his time, in their time, it's unfathomable to think of someone ever being better than them.
Most dominant.
Right.
That's what
yeah.
Paul is, right? That's what Ken Climo was. In their time, when you're watching them, it's unfathomable to think someone could come along. So to that era, they will always be the greatest of all time. That's why you have the Michael Jordan,
Hold on.
LeBron James debate.
Timeout.
But as
Time
stuff
out.
comes down the line,
Timeout. Here's a good counterpoint though. I think with the NBA though, when you look at it, like obviously some rules have changed and stuff, but like the ball hasn't changed. It's been 10 feet, the rim, like all that hasn't changed. So you can look at both like objectively and be like, this guy's doing stuff that these people weren't doing. Golf though, similar to disc golf, you don't ever really hear anyone talk about like, oh well, Jack Nicklaus. Like, granted, he wasn't hitting the ball nearly as far. The courses weren't nearly as hard. Like, all those things. but you don't ever really hear anyone throw that out. You still hear Jack Nicklaus as being one of the greatest golfers of all time, even though he did it in a old era. Same thing with like Sam Snead, like guys, old Byron Nelson, like old guys. It doesn't, like the Bill Russell thing, it doesn't hold water in golf because the technology has changed. So they obviously know like those guys couldn't do what the guys are doing now because of the technology.
That's the same thing as Climo.
That's what I'm saying. Do you think that is going to be a conversation that down the road will happen of where, because right now, obviously, a lot of people are talking about it. The only difference, though, is like the field of play
That's what I'm saying.
is going to be
disc
drastically different.
Disc golf
10 years
is
from
way
now.
too young right now
Yeah.
to even talk about greatest of all time. Way too young.
Well, you had a greatest of all time in that
all
era.
time. That's not all time.
Right.
You
Yeah,
can have
I
the
think-
greatest
I
of
think-
their day
Who's the best golfer? Like who's the
of all time.
Yeah.
Tiger
Tiger.
Woods.
Well, Jack or Tiger.
Well, he's in this time.
Jack or Tiger
But
Woods.
golf is so old that there's not the thing of there's the technology develops, but the field. My biggest thing is Ken Climo. He wasn't beating up on the field that today is.
Right.
Paul 5 years ago wasn't beating up on the field of today. 10 years from now, that disc golfer, first off, 10 years from now, there probably won't be a disc golfer that's just beating up on the field. But the beating up on the field 10 years from now will look like you're beating 50, 60 great disc golfers.
Yeah.
Versus 5 years ago, you're beating 5, 10 great disc golfers. Climo's era, you're beating 1, 2 great disc golfers. That's the biggest issue. You can't have a greatest of all time when our sport's 30, 40 years old.
And also, too, the